how did you hear about Lady Fatima Trust?
Well, first time I heard about them was when I was a young man in my mosque, because I used to go to the same mosque as Mukhtar and his father, God bless his soul. And yeah, we slowly got to know Lady Fatima and the good work that they are doing throughout the world.
A couple of years ago was when I first heard about it. Amazing charity, alhamdulillah.
I'm actually unfortunate to know Mukhtar Kareem and his father. Mukhtar was actually my madrasa teacher, so I remember when his dad actually established the trust itself, so I've been following it ever since.
I have known about it for quite a while, but Mukhtar Kareem actually contacted me and informed me about how the amazing work that Lady Fatima Trust is doing, and I have always wanted to reach out to children, so this has been a good contact and good place to come to be able to help children around the world and not just where we live in.
Well, I've known about it for quite a long time now. I suppose about 10 years or something. When I was I used to go regularly to Baghdad during the Civil War after the American invasion, and so I heard a lot about it then, and it really does seem to be to me to be a really, really good cause. I was so glad to be asked to come and speak about it.
I think it's testament to even just the faces who attend this event in terms of the work that is done by the Trust. Because I mean, even from the key speakers and the special guests we have, it's obvious that the work that's been done is having an excellent impact on the world. So yeah, I just generally love what the Trust does. So yeah,
it's been an association very close to my family for many years, and I'm returning after a 3-year absence to the event, but we support it. It's one of the leading charities in the UK, very close to our hearts, and they do tremendous work. So very, very glad to be here, and inshallah be a successful evening.
I'm aware of all of the projects that they do, especially in Karbala and especially in Yemen.
I can recall many years ago when Amir Uncle came to my house. This is at the inception point of the Lady Fatima Trust, and he brought with him 10 direct debit forms, and he said, "Abbas, go out there and get me some signatures." And then over the years, the trust grew, and it does some outstanding work internationally, and it's helped countless individuals. And unfortunately, when Amir Uncle passed, I think there was a feeling of bewilderment, uncertainty, but in his shoes has stepped Mukhtar, who has done a tremendous job in terms of taking the trust forward, and in Mukhtar we have an individual who conducts himself with an integrity and a poise that most can only aspire to. So we certainly wish him the very best moving forward, and indeed we're confident the trust in his hands and with his guidance, inshallah, will achieve bigger and better things.
I've learned quite a bit about Mothernomics. I think this is the new concept that they are trying out, which I think is brilliant, to be able to reach out to the mothers, train them to be able to get to the children and help the less fortunate in the longer run, instead of just giving money for the shorter run, feeding them, which of course is important, but I think educating them is more so useful in the long run for the children and mothers as well.
I have known it for quite a long time, and since the late Amir Ali Karim was alive, he was a good friend, and I knew different kinds of projects he used to do in Iraq, in Africa, and in many places. I knew him personally, the way he helped those who are in need, students, destitutes, people who are known to him and those who are not even known to him. And I knew him as a man of integrity and a man of not only words but actions. And I know many people who have been helped by him, and they're so grateful for the charity and whatever charity has done for them.
I think what stands out for me is the difference in projects. They do the usual conventional work that any other charity would do, but there are certain specific twists that set it from the other side. For example, the Mothernomics campaign, where it's really a social enterprise and really helping mothers stand on their own 2 feet, especially with the whole loaning them an amount and then getting them to give it back as well, really giving them the dignity back. I think for me, that just stands apart from the rest of the charities.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسل وأغلالا وسعيرا إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نظرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا.
Salams again, ladies and gentlemen, and hello. I wanted to introduce myself properly. Thank you so much to the charity for having me here today. I am a TV news producer, which means we chose a career, or I selectively chose a career behind the camera, which means we choose to be invisible. But for select good causes, which normally involves mentoring children, I agree to get on stage or speak. So you're one of my rare adult audiences, so you'll have to bear with me through the night. I hope that you're all here to have a good evening. I'm hearing, like to hear some noise. And I hope that you're all here to help raise a great deal of money for this great charity. I just wanted to talk about why it was important to me to say yes when I received the invite, and why the work of Lady Fatima Trust actually ties into what I, sort of the work I do and actually my story. When I was 8 years old, and my uncle tells me this, my dad's best friend who has sadly passed, I don't remember it as well. Apparently, I was watching images of starving children in Africa on TV, and I decided that I wanted to do something about it, but I didn't know how. So I decided to write a letter to Bob Geldof, who at the time was trying to raise money through charities to help children there. My uncle used to tell this story and laugh because he didn't understand how I thought that I would be able to achieve anything, but he admired the fact that I thought I could. I think one of my goals was to make sure that something was done, and as I grew up, I knew I wanted a job where I was able to help, but also help shine a spotlight on areas of the world where there were conflicts, crisis, areas of need as well. And when I was 11 years old, I heard that someone I knew was a journalist, and that allowed me to consider a career that I, hadn't before, because she was a woman. And today we will be hearing about the amazing work that the charity do for women. And she almost became a role model without realizing, because she was a family friend's daughter. She was Asian, she was Muslim, and because she could, I thought, well, maybe I could. I didn't know how I was going to get there, and that's a whole separate story that I go around the country telling, which is how difficult it was. But my point being that I feel incredibly blessed that I am in a career that may have its own fair share of a bad reputation, the media, which I'll get into somewhat later with our keynote speaker here tonight. But it's one that is been able to shine that spotlight, and I've been able to help share stories from some of the areas in the world that are in conflict, in need, like Yemen, like Syria. We did a report last night from inside a hospital in Idlib. And often in parts of the world where we can tell the stories of charities doing great work, like Lady Fatima Trust and other charities, so you can see firsthand the work that's being done and the impact that's being done. And I think what's important about sharing those stories with audiences here. And I know that obviously a lot of you here tonight are friends of this charity and you come here often and support it so well. But I think that what's important is that by sharing these stories from people in far off lands, often people who seem other, people who seem foreign, people who seem so far away that we wonder why we should care, they seem like someone that could be you and I, but for a twist of fate. We try and tell these stories through the prism of children, women, you know, so that you understand that it often could be that these are the ways that hearts and minds are often changed, and often the way that pockets are opened on nights like tonight when we want to raise a great deal of money, and I hope that we can. I've told stories of refugees that have arrived here at a time by focusing in on one child, for example, as opposed to often mentioning things in great deals of statistics, which often don't help you know, sort of personalize things. And I've had the privilege of attending Lady Fatima Trust events for many years now, and I appreciate the way that they talk to us about the work they do, and they personalize the stories, and they tell us about the impact that's having. So much so that when my niece was born more than a decade ago now, mashallah, I decided to sponsor an orphan with the charity just because I knew that that impact would be had direct one-to-one. And at a time when there are so many large charities, it's great to see the impact that smaller ones can have. And you'll be hearing shortly about programs like Mothernomics, which is amazing because the great ethos, which so many of you who are aware of the charity will know, but for those of you who are new, the ethos of the charity is to help people in need with dignity. And I think that's amazing because those in need don't often want to be treated as victims, as we know, and they want to be treated with dignity. And I think one of the brilliant aspects of this Mothernomics program, which I was reading about, is to make women into entrepreneurs. And I think what's incredible is that that's then helping their children and the next generation look up to their own mothers as role models, which is an incredible thing and hopefully will help again. Talking about the person who is at the heart of this now and the CEO, I'm about to introduce Mukhtar Karim and Mukhtar Bhai, who so many of you know here and will respect his work. And more admirably, obviously, so many of you know that he took over the charity and kept it stable and successful at a time when its founding chairman and his own father, the driving force from inception of this great charity, died following a short illness. The trust has grown in the last 18 months, and Mukhtar Bhai would like to share that growth with you. But before we hear from him, can we please have a minute's silence from Amir Ali Karim, or Amir Uncle for so many here. I'd now like to welcome Mukhtar Bhai to the stage, please.
My mother, respected scholars, dignitaries, and honorable guests, Assalamu alaikum, and good evening to you all. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to share some of the stories that we have encountered over the past 18 months at the Lady Fatima Charitable Trust, and more importantly, to help us vision the next 18 months and where we would like collectively to take this journey of sustainable empowerment in time to come. Before we start, I've got some good news for you and some bad news. I'll start with the good news. The good news is that we've got enough money to run the trust for the next 12 months. Isn't that amazing? Here's the bad news. It's still in your pockets. So hopefully, with the 4 stories that I've got to share with you, I live life very simply. For me, individual empowerment, stories of individuals, is what matters most. 0% admin wasn't a logo for us. It wasn't something that was a marketing gimmick. It was to allow the hand of the donor that is blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, to touch the hand of the recipient and have this wonderful exchange of blessings. And that is what the Lady Fatima Trust is so privileged to be in a position of. For all that is said about the volunteers, the trustees, We just look on as spectators in amazement as to how these journeys of empowerment carry on. So without much ado, let us go to our first one. And every day, individual stories of empowerment are what keep us going at the Trust. Ibrahim is an 11-year-old boy in the village of Tara Adare in Ethiopia, in the Jinner district. His village has been devoid of fresh water for the past decade as droughts have set in. And Ibrahim's parents wake up early in the morning and he accompanies them uphill for 8 kilometers to fetch water. They're fortunate. They have the strength to do so. Those that don't go to local muddy ponds and drink water filled with disease and worms. They're probably too weak to even boil that water before consuming it. Just pause for a moment. A cup of muddy water filled with bacteria, filled with worms, that's the only hydration you're going to get all day. Existence is what it means for these individuals. But why am I sharing this story with you? I'm sharing it with you because Ibrahim's elder sister was miscarried by his mother, lifting the heavy loads. Ibrahim's grandmother is bedridden because of musculoskeletal. I knew I should have stuck to words of one syllable or less. Musculoskeletal disorders, having lifted heavy weights all her life. Being sick without having any medical care is a norm in that village with waterborne diseases. Missing school, going to school with dirty clothes, not having had breakfast. But you, the donors of the LFT, turn that round. Not just Ibrahim, but 24,000 villagers around Jinner this past 6 months have had access to fresh spring water. And these local communities now only have to walk 100 meters, a maximum of 100 meters, for guaranteed fresh spring water to be available to them. Ibrahim's family say that he now goes to school with a freshly washed uniform. Never heard of before. Ibrahim consumes porridge before going to school. Ibrahim doesn't miss out on school now. His mom and dad can be educated, can work on the farm as Ibrahim is educated. All of this transformation is thanks to you. And a huge thank you from the community at Tara Adare for enabling 24,000 lives to be transformed in this manner. But that's not all. Similar stories of empowerment have taken place in Zanzibar and in the deserts of Sindh. So, I wanted to know from Thames Water whether they managed 35,000 new connections in the last 6 months. I did ring up their hotline, but they were awash with complaints, boom, boom. But they did recommend that you watch out for the projects that are in LFT's pipeline and see how those can be better supported. So I bring you the solar water pumps of Sindh. In the Sindh areas where the LFT has supplied fresh water to villagers for drinking for the past 10 years, our vision 2020, pardon the pun for opticians, 2020 vision is to have 10 farms, 20 farms irrigated with that water and help them become self-sufficient and also grow crops for sale. 20 projects of small holding, 8 to 10 acres, to help these people be self-sufficient in the way they farm through fresh water and solar panels for water pumps. LFT, we can do it. Vision 2020 has only just begun. Renewables is a huge focus of what we do at the LFT. Because we realize a lot of the communities that are in the position in which they are as a result of being climate refugees. People who have been moved away from their habitat because of climate change. So having renewable resources is something that is highly important to them. Solar water pumps, water filtration systems that do not require anything that's consumable have been a big focus of what we've worked on so far. But this year, additional to that, we worked on lighting centers of adult education, worship, to enable those communities to work towards economic independence. So not only do mothers and fathers come there to learn. The children have education there too, but also activities like seed drying takes place through these solar panels and the energy derived from that. In Zanzibar, we're working with schools to have fresh water given to school children in aluminium bottles, like the type you took home with you last year. These children will no longer have to use disposable plastic and damage the environment in a lovely island like Zanzibar, but they'll have these aluminium bottles and a fresh supply of water to drink in school to consume. Now, just before you get the idea that we're anti-plastic, we're not entirely anti-plastic. This kind of plastic we still tolerate. But the plastic bottles that these kids would chuck away on the streets of Zanzibar, on the beaches of Zanzibar, into the sea of Zanzibar, we would not respect our own homes and areas to be looked at that way. And it is important that we look at having a sustainable way of preserving the environment, respecting the environment as people of faith. That is where Lady Fatima is driving sustainable growth while encouraging higher education and good health care. On the note of education and sustainability, each one of you being here has gifted one school child in Kenya with one of these bags. The child walks around all day, and these solar panels get charged. Don't worry, we're not handing them out to children in this country. Solar panels may be not very effective. But in countries where solar energy could be so readily used, these children will then go home and after dark have a ready source of lighting. Thank you to each and every one of you for making your keepsake present something that will enable a child in Kenya to carry on with their further education. Of course, they'd welcome more bags. 600 was the first supply we enabled, and inshallah, God willing, this journey of empowerment and education will continue. That neatly segues into my next topic, which is that of education. LFT scholarship is a diverse community of 1,500 students globally. You, LFT, are enabling 1,500 children directly access to education which they may not otherwise have. Just think that through. 1,500 people are able to be leaders of the future, are able to create and shape a future which you and I take for granted, but they may not have. But they're a diverse community. It's not 1,500 school children of North or South London we're talking about here. It is deaf school children in Gaza. It is children who are going to university in Gaza, training to be doctors, engineers, dentists, and God forbid, lawyers as well. But also children from the slums in India, who now will have access to education in primary and secondary level. And almost 1,000 orphan children in Iraq as well, in Karbala, in Najaf, in Hilla. And it is one of those on the former slides who I'd like to introduce you to in my second story. This story is one of Ibrahim. Ibrahim's parents watched their father mercilessly slaughtered by ISIS. They were marched out of their village in the dark of the night and slaughtered in darkness. The father was slaughtered in darkness along with 19 other people. The mother, picking up other children along the way, as if looking after her own children wasn't enough, picked up other children along the way and mothered them. This community now is settled in a town called, a little hamlet called Al-Hammam, just between Hilla and Karbala. And over there, the LFT community has enabled wraparound care for them. Ibrahim goes to school. Ibrahim had a new school uniform to begin the school term with, school shoes to go to school with. But he gets bullied at school because when he brings homework back, his mother's illiterate. She is mentally scarred from what has happened. And therefore, supporting Ibrahim doesn't happen as naturally as the way my mother would have brought me up, as my wife mothers our children. So the mother will get mental health first aid. Ibrahim gets extra tutoring after school. And alhamdulillah, thanks to your dedication, LFT supporters, Ibrahim is now top of his class at school. Ibrahim yearns to be an engineer to help rebuild his country of Iraq. Staying on the theme of education, your dedication, LFT supporters, helped restore 14 schools back into operation in Yemen this past year. Do you realize your generosity, LFT? You have enabled assistance to the war-torn cities of Sana'a and Hudaydah in the tune of £550,000. 33,000 people have been assisted by your generosity. 6,000 families. But that's not just food aid. The LFT was about sustainability. The LFT is about empowerment. The LFT is about making the future brighter, and one where that assistance is no longer something that is required. Through this food aid, you, LFT, enabled 14 schools in Sana'a to reopen, because that food is now distributed through the schools. Teachers who were staying away because they were not receiving salaries are now back in the classrooms. Parents who'd have to worry about where the food supply was going to come from are now receiving that food supply in the school. The hunger, the thought for food and the food for thought are being disseminated together. The thought for food and the food for thought in the classrooms have come together. But we will, and this is the one flagship project which over the past 12 months has been something that my wife, my mother, my son, and my 2 daughters have been extremely patient in helping me see through. So before I start, I'd just like to say a big thank you to my family for helping me in pushing this forward as a recognition tonight. Mothernomics. The journey of Mothernomics started 15 months ago when I invited one of the LFT officers in Karbala to say, why are we calling these women widows? It's so disempowering, it's disrespectful, it invites me to be pitiful to them, it invites me to just say, here's your sponsorship, go home, see you next month. They are, at their essence, mothers. Let's call them mothers. Would we have had a conversation tonight, LFT, if we talked about widonomics? Not much. But Mothernomics has enabled this mother to transform her life and live it with dignity. Yes, there has been a setback in her life, but let's call it a wobble. That's not the way the rest of her life should be cut out. This is a small wobble in her life, a major upheaval, but affecting a small period of her life. Let's contain it. And Zainab in Yemen, who's now able to go back to school, was the 4th character I wanted you to meet. And one recognition, before we move on to Mothernomics, was the team at AIM. A big round of applause to them for enabling £185,000 to be raised through that. And we've encouraged Yemen to look at Mothernomics too. But Mothernomics in Karbala has grown and shown to us that this is possible. How did it grow? It grew through our recognizing the 6 obstacles to a mother who may never have stepped into a classroom, loved the companion of her life to bits, but found himself either involved in the Iran-Iraq war, or the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, or attacked by ISIS, or the Saddam regime, or sanctions, or just poor medical facilities. Somehow, the head of the household was there one day to provide for his family, and not there the next. Children were orphaned, the mother was widowed. But she remained a mother, and a mother is what we're going to respect her as. She now gets the mental health first aid that she needs to overcome this for 2 weeks. Have a conversation with us. Tell us what life is like. Tell us how you'd like life to be going forward. You can do it. You will do it. You have done it. Let's go into a technical college and pick up some technical skills. Sewing, salon, but branching out into electronic engineering, carpentry. Choose your career. At the end of it, have a loan. A loan that is not dispensed to you in cash, but a loan that's given to you in kind. These goods are marketed as a basket of goods that has a value. But we realize that coming across this journey will require some support, and support is what we're here for. That is what Lady Fatima's charity does the best. Empowers so that the one touch you have on someone's life is the only touch you'll have on their life. We move on. They move on. They come back as donors. In this case, within 4 months, alhamdulillah, 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 God be praised, we are now ahead of schedule in their repayments of those loans. Business is good for them. They go out into the markets and see goods sewn by them in the brand name Mom. Mom puts food on the table. That at the core is what Mothernomics is about. Can I? This week we had a meeting with the largest interior design supply chain in Karbala, and they said, why didn't anyone think of this before? And our officers called me up and said, so what do we say to them? So you just repeat their phrase to them, say, why didn't you think of this before? What can I say? I mean, it's obvious. Mothers dropping children off at school and then going to collect antidepressants on the way home, mothers now sew school uniforms and beam with smiles when they see the children wearing their school uniforms. Mothers now lay the bed sheets in their children's bedrooms that they have sewn, that they could have sewn themselves, or their neighbors could have bought in the markets for them. They are turning over and returning to the LFT $5,000 a month. Our operation in Iraq is now 20% business, 80% sponsorship. And slowly, that percentage is shifting, and other areas are also looking at similar shifts in the way they manage. It's meant our officers move from Excel spreadsheets to QuickBooks, because Excel spreadsheets and having full accounting packages are not quite conducive. But hey, are we complaining? And there's one person in the room who I'd like to credit with catalyzing that thought, and that is none other than our Iqbal uncle. Iqbal Asaria sat me down when I started my journey at the LFT and said, Muki, this can't continue. There's got to be something different that we're doing. It's thanks to Iqbal uncle that Mothernomics is where it is today. Thank you so much, Iqbal uncle. I've taken more of your time. Thank you so much. I had got a speech prepared, which I haven't used. With Ruhibai's permission, may I start reading my speech now? There is a video clip on Mothernomics, which I will leave you with, and then one slide that I'll talk to for 30 seconds, with your permission. Ladies and gentlemen at the LFT, I present to you Mothernomics.
Inspired by the example of leadership and empowerment set by the pure women that accompanied Imam al-Hussein 1400 years ago, the Mothernomics program is a program built to give back the dignity, independence, and respect that widowed mothers have lost due to how they were perceived in society. Many widowed mothers have forgotten the feeling of being independent because they were so dependent on charities or any help that comes their way. The Lady Fatima Charitable Trust is the first organization in Iraq to drive such a program from end to end, actively seeking partners for the LFT Mothernomics program to grow in scale and reach.
أنا أعتقد مدربين في مركز تدريب المهني وعلى رأسهم أستاذ عدنان أعطوا للمتدربات دفعة كبيرة، وأنا يعرف إن هم يعني كثير منهم من يدخلون المركز يمكن أبرة ما يعرفون يلقمون، مقص ما يعرفون يشتغلون به، لكن لما يتخرجون من الدورة ما شاء الله نشوفهم شغلهم كلش مبدع.
After graduation at the shrine of Imam al-Hussein, peace be upon him, mothers receive the necessary equipment on a loan which they repay from the sales they generate. The repayments then help more beneficiaries to get the tools of empowerment to more and more deserving mothers, so the journey of empowerment continues. So far, 100% of the repayments are made on time or earlier. Mothernomics does not end here. Every mother is enrolled in a skills development and entrepreneurship course before they are enrolled in the main training course of their choice, so they may be able to leave the trauma of their past experience, motivate other mothers who were in a similar situation, but most importantly, lead lives that are an example for their orphan sons and daughters to emulate.
Lady Fatima Charitable Trust is always thinking of innovative ways to transform the lives of the many individuals it comes in contact with on a day-to-day basis. One of the most recent ways is the Mothernomics Project. This project gives the widowed mothers that the Trust is blessed to work with the opportunity to be part of society again and to have that voice, to be responsible again, and to be independent and to be included once again. It is these extraordinary individuals that we are working with, that we are trying to transform their lives and transform hardship into financial stability and overall mental well-being for the mother and her children. The mothers are now very proud of the products that they're producing under the brand name Mom. The Mom brand is extremely unique because it symbolizes independence and empowerment for an Iraqi widowed mother. So this kind of attracts businessmen and local customers into wanting to know more about the product and the project. Products range from bed sheets to bed linen for hotels and hospitals, and also school uniform, and the list is increasing. In the month of April, we had over $10,000 worth of sales, and in the upcoming months, with further collaboration with local schools, local hotels in Karbala and in Najaf, this number will gradually increase and more mothers will be involved.
Courses for sewing and beautification treatments are now ready for the fourth cycle of mothers to join this year, as the graduates have begun the production process and started earning better than anticipated revenue, which will be sustained by a well-planned and meticulously developed training program.
وظيفتي مشرفة جودة، مسؤولة عن جميع القياسات وأي شيء يخص الجودة، وأهم شيء عندنا نظافة الجودة والقياسات مضبوطة. قبل لا أدخل الدورة مال الخياطة كانت حياتي عبارة عن روتين ثابت، يعني حياتي كلش طبيعية، بس بعد ما هسه بمشروعنا لا، صار عندي نشاط، صارت عندي طاقة، صار عندي هدف أريد أوصل إليه، ومشروع كلش ناجح وحلو، لأن مجموعتنا عبارة عن الأمهات العراقيات فقط، وإنتاجنا قاعد يطلع بصورة كلش تمام مضبوط، وإن شاء الله بعد نتطور أكثر بعمل.
Since the LFT's main priority is creating financial stability for the Iraqi mothers through dignified means of employment, the Mothernomics project is expanding to other Iraqi cities such as Najaf in collaboration with Anwar Najafiya Foundation.
نبارك المؤسسة السيدة فاطمة جهودها الكبيرة، وبالأخص مشروعهم المبارك لتشغيل المرأة وإيجاد فرص عمل لها. هذا المشروع مهم وضروري للمرأة العراقية بالخصوص، وللأرملة بالأخص نظرا للظروف القاسية والكبيرة التي تمر بها، ونحن نتطلع إلى توسعة هذا المشروع لما له من أهمية وفائدة قصوى، لأن تستطيع المرأة أن تقف على قدميها بدون الحاجة إلى هذا وذاك، وإنما بعرق جبينها الشريف تقف لتقدم خدمة لنفسها ولأطفالها. بارك الله بكل من يعمل على هذا.
The main aim behind the Mothernomics project is enabling financial and emotional transformations within the lives of all Iraqi women, especially widowed mothers.
المشروع الذي نتكلم عنه اليوم مشروع اقتصادي مفيد نافع، وهو القيام بتحويل الأخوات الأرامل إلى عناصر منتجة مفيدة نافعة، بأن يعملن بالخياطة أو بغير الخياطة، حتى يكون أيضا في ذلك مساعدة لهن وللأيتام ولغير الأيتام، حتى يكون عندهن اكتفاء ذاتي، فلا يعتمدن على مجرد المساعدات، بل يكون يكون عندهن استقلال، وفي ذلك خير ومنفعة ومصلحة للمجتمع كله، للفقير وللغني.
Please join us on this journey of empowerment and help today transform the lives of many, many widowed mothers. Thank you very much.
This is saving the best to last. I could not stand here in front of you without accrediting all the work that I've done so far to one man. This man, since I was cognizant of what was happening in the world, had a passion for the less fortunate in the world. This man spent day and night pushing out work in healthcare, in education, in sustainability. First as the treasurer of the Mombasa branch of the Red Cross, then setting up the Golden Crescent Group in Mombasa, then resettling in this country and feeling that he wanted to do something and setting up the Lady Fatima Trust 23 years ago, as we sat around the table and he put $5,000 on the table and said, I want to change the world. I want to have a new model of empowerment out there. And we said, Daddy, $5,000, you want to change the world? And he said, watch me. And watch him we did. With 0% admin as his core value and to bring about sustainability. Today, 2 years, 2 seasons after, this is the second gala dinner where I miss my father being present in the room. These are the roses that grow in our garden. My father had a huge passion for 2 things. Gardening that he took on from my grandmother, and photography. And as I photograph these roses that he grew, I look back and say, wow, he's not around to tend them anymore. But we enjoy this. These are the fruits of his labor. And everything that I look at the Lady Fatima Trust and the values we uphold and the journey that we're taking forward, our founding chair, Amir Ali Ghulam Ali Karim, sat forward for us. So I asked myself, what would I like my legacy to be? How can I use the Lady Fatima Trust Vision 2020 to achieve that and beyond? Let's plan our journeys ahead together. Share your ideas. I'd love to hear from you to say, what is it the Lady Fatima Trust can say we've delivered on the 31st of December 2020 as a stretch objective to what we've already delivered? But more importantly, what part would you like to play in that journey? I'll leave you with this contemplation. Thank you ever so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for making that journey of empowerment possible. I look forward to working with each and every one of you to take this journey forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Mukhtar Karim Mukhtar Bhai, because you can tell why this charity is so successful, why this is a full house tonight, because of your passion, your enthusiasm, your sincerity, something your father epitomized as well. As often happens in TV, and John will know this, our keynote, things often don't go to plan, but we can often we can play that video later so you can see about the great work of Mothernomics. Speaking of our keynote, before I go into his incredible biography, it's a real honor today. Firstly, it was a surprise to be asked to speak here as someone in the media, because it's a time when often with certain communities the media isn't very popular, as I was talking about. And it's great that the keynote as well, John Simpson, is someone who is such a renowned person in the broadcast industry. My sort of funny moment is that my dad couldn't be here tonight and didn't necessarily want to attend because his daughter was hosting, but because you were the keynote, John. I've worked at ITN since I was a teenager, but he has eyes for only 2 channels, Channel 4 News and BBC News. So his thought was, oh dear, I'm missing John Simpson. So what can I say about John? Someone who I saw growing up on my TV screen, and many of you have. The BBC World Affairs editor, who has been a journalist, a broadcaster, a columnist, and now an author. And some of you may have seen his book as you were coming in on the outside. We chose to speak of war and strife, but if not, please do find out later. And we will be talking about it in a Q&A after, so do get some questions ready if you'd like to. John was educated at St Paul's School and Magdalen College, Cambridge. He joined the BBC in 1966 and celebrated his 50th anniversary in 2016. John has reported from, and I don't know whether any of you can guess, an incredible 140 countries around the world. He's interviewed around 200 world leaders, including Mikhail Gorbachev, Vladimir Putin, Margaret Thatcher, every British Prime Minister since Harold Wilson, every German Chancellor since Willy Brandt, and every French Prime Minister for many decades as well. He's interviewed further afield Mrs. Gandhi and Colonel Gaddafi, Bashar al-Assad and Nelson Mandela and Robert Mugabe. He's covered 46 wars on 4 continents, and the trial and execution of Saddam Hussein in Iraq and of Ceausescu in Romania. For all of this work, as well as obviously becoming well-renowned around the world, John has received so many accolades, including Royal Television Journalist Society of the Year twice, 3 BAFTA Awards, an Emmy, a Monte Carlo TV Festival Golden Nymph, a Bayou Award for war reporting, and he also has time to be a Freeman of the City of London, President of the Chelsea Society. John, I don't know how you found time to write the book, but maybe that should be one of our questions. I'm so honoured that you're here today to talk about your work. I would like to spend no further time than to introduce John Simpson. Can we please introduce him with a big round of applause?
Thank you so much. That was a very nice introduction from a very good colleague. I'm terribly chuffed to be here tonight. It so happens that much of my career has been spent in precisely the kind of places that the Lady Fatima Trust is concerned about and is working with. I first came across the name and the very distinctive logo in, I suppose it was 2007 in Baghdad. I used to go during the Civil War, which was such an appalling thing in Iraq from the moment that the British and Americans invaded Iraq, which I have to say I always thought was a terrible, terrible thing to have done, right through till, well, the Civil War finally sputtered out, didn't it? And in about 10 years later, and I used to go every how often did I go? About every 3 weeks. I used to spend a week there in Baghdad, and sometimes when it was difficult to get in and out, I'd spend more time there. But I first went to Iraq back in 1990 when Saddam invaded Kuwait and the first Gulf War happened. And all that time, it was absolutely impossible to just do what you would like to do as a journalist, what the two of us do all the time, which is just to go out into the streets and interview people and talk to them about their experience. And often it would perhaps not be what our governments back at home would be very enthusiastic to hear. But nevertheless, I used to think it was really important to try to interview just ordinary people in the streets. Never happened. Saddam's system was so all-controlling that you really couldn't go out. And if you managed to persuade your minders to let you go out, then, of course, the people in the streets, the moment they saw a couple of Iraqi, often Secret Service people standing around, they would completely freeze up, and it was cruel even to try to get them to speak to us. But at the end of the war, as the summer came on in 1991, it became possible. Saddam's power seemed to be completely on the wane. We didn't, at least I didn't, think that he might be there for another 12 years afterwards. I assumed that he was finished, and most people felt the same. And I remember we went to Sadr City, still called Saddam City then, a vast, great, very ugly, most of it at any rate, very ugly, modern buildings there, a vast city of 1 million people. We were able then, for the first time, to go around and talk to people and not have to have a couple of thugs with us watching everything we did and seeing everybody that we interviewed and noting down everything they said. And Saddam City had been quite badly hit, or at least the part of it where we were had been, by I think some missiles that the Americans had fired that had gone astray. And I remember I came across this ruin, this heap of concrete and brick dust with people living inside it. And because we didn't have anybody trying to stop us doing what we wanted to do, we managed to get in and find the people inside. And what we found was one of the most moving things I think I've ever seen in my career. In all this awfulness, this dirt, no water for washing clothes or anything, at least none that we could see. Certainly no power, no electricity or anything like that. In this extraordinarily difficult environment was a 16-year-old girl who was going to school that morning. And how her mother did it, I've no idea, but the girl was in a beautifully pressed and ironed pure white shirt, and she wore a white shirt and a dark, I think dark trousers, and my heart went out to her, that the thought that, you know, under these appalling circumstances, people could still look after their children to that extent and could send their children off looking as good as this girl did. I was so moved by that. We filmed it, and a lot of people, I'm glad to say, were moved by it around the world, and it's one of the reports that I've been that I'm kind of most proud of. I'm not proud of an awful lot of my stuff, but that is one where I think we saw something and brought it out to people's attention and showed them what human beings can really do under the most appalling circumstances. That's why I think that this organization of yours is such a good one. I've come across it. I think in 2007 I became aware of that very distinctive logo and asked people about it. It's not a big charity. It's not like the Red Crescent or Oxfam or something like that. But you know, often my experience has been that the smaller charities have more passion in them, and the passion is what does good things. Sometimes the bigger organizations become just really a bureaucracy turning over and over and over, whereas a small charity, well, it's not that small, but it's small-ish, can achieve absolutely wonderful things in a small compass, just a small area. I mean, your charity works in many parts of the world, but it works, as I understand it, in a particularly intense kind of way. I love this idea of the mothernomics. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think the notion that you should look away from the idea of widows, pitiful, sad people who've lost their status in society and are left with children to bring up, to get away from the widow notion, and back to the mother notion, which nothing can take away from them. I think that's really, really magnificent. And I just want to tell you about one other little group of people that I met and used to go and see quite often when I was back in Iraq after the fall and execution of Saddam, and when we were able to travel. The only restriction on us was simply the difficulties and dangers of traveling around. But somewhere in the center of Baghdad, just near the river Tigris, there was a building which had been I think a government building at some stage, and had been fought over quite a lot during the Civil War. It had had a bad time, but it was it had been a series of offices at one stage, but now people had moved into it and lived in it. And I'll again, this is something I'll never forget. And I don't want to boast about it, but we got an award for the story that we did. A man and his wife and their 8 children, the eldest of whom was only 12, and the way in which these people who had absolutely nothing whatever, they just lived on the charity of others. And as you know, in a country like Iraq, and it's not the only country in that part of the world where people are very generous to the poor, and they manage to eke out a living. But more impressive than just simply being able to feed their 8 children, this mother and father taught their kids every day and every night. And we used to go to see them every time I was there. I used to go and see how they were getting on. Sometimes I'd film them, sometimes I'd just visit them and bring them some things, of course. And the way in which the older children taught the younger ones, and the way in which the younger ones were brought in to help their parents, just simply to make ends meet and to operate, was one of the things that I really cherish. The man was a street trader, nothing more, and his life was really difficult because street traders are not always the most charitable of people, and they didn't want somebody else coming in and taking over their area. So from time to time, he'd come back with a black eye or a cut on his face where he'd been thrown out and attacked. But he always went back, and his wife, and in the evenings he would teach the children, and in the daytime the mother would teach them and send them off to school. And that family, I've now sadly lost track of them. They've moved somewhere better, and it's not a bad reason to lose track of somebody in those circumstances. And I'm sure they're doing much better. But the way that they used to greet me, the way in which they always tried to force food onto me when I came there, tea and food, and even though I really didn't want to take it off them, I used to just to accept a little bit. I'll never forget that family, and I hope one day to meet up with them, and perhaps with the children. And it's not such an impossibility, because I found just this evening when I was signing books outside, a lady came up to me, and I thought she was a little bit familiar, and I couldn't think why. And she said that I did a trip round Kerbala and Najaf, and we found it quite difficult to get people to talk to us because it was a dangerous time with a lot of fighting, killing going on. But she was very brave. She's here somewhere, I don't know where. And she was quite outspoken. And I remember my producer saying as we turned away, well, at least we've got one really first-class interview. And the lady who did that is here tonight. So I do think that the possibility of meeting up with the people again whom one's met and contacted and filmed is a very real one. I'd just like to say, before we do our question and answer, I'd just like to add my little bit as a complete outsider. This is a very good cause. This is a very, very good cause. So can I just say, don't hold back tonight, just give the money and it'll go to a good ends. Thank you very much indeed.
It's great to hear from someone who's obviously been in the very areas that charities like Lady Fatima Trust have actually worked in and actually been there firsthand. John, my first question was, obviously some of it you just touched on in what you spoke. In light of what you have seen over the years in so many countries, why is the work of charities working there at grassroots level so crucial and continued still to this day, do you think?
Looking after people whose lives have been destroyed or badly damaged is really the function of governments. But in so many countries where there's been civil conflict or invasion or all-out war, the governments simply aren't in a position to give much help, and that's not surprising. I mean, in Iraq, for instance, just to take that one country, and Syria is an even worse example, and it needs somebody with a bit of fire and a real belief. I mean, why would this particular organization, Lady Fatima, why would it exist if people didn't feel a burning need to help their fellow human beings? And it's that passion which makes it so much more powerful and effective than simple bureaucrats going through the system and you know, doling out things according to the rule book. I think this is a far better way of getting to people and getting to the needs that real people really have.
Do you think, I mean, in terms of the situations that you've sort of seen out there, you touched upon a few, in light of tonight, people are going to be sort of looking to raise funds. Is there one particular sort of story that stands out to you of someone that you saw that touched you personally, that you know that often can be helped by the work of, you know, or the help of people living far away sometimes as well?
Yes, I mean, I can think of people I regard as friends, people who have been fortunate enough to be helped by the kind of forces that that Lady Fatima Trust can provide. I mean, I mentioned this this family in the ruins of the office block, the people that I always used to go and see. I don't think, in fact, in their case, that they'd been helped by any charity at all. I think they just made their own way as best they could. But it's people like that, people who really are kind of on the edges of society. I mean, I think I said to you, this guy was a market trader with very small things like matchboxes and lighters and so on. And I'm not sure how honestly he'd obtained them, but I mean, you know, you've got to do what you've got to do. And he really had problems in getting out and getting a place from which he could, a stall from which he could sell these things. Nobody's going to help him except somebody like Lady Fatima Trust, who would help the family altogether to just lift themselves a little bit out of the poverty that they find themselves in.
And John, how do you, you know, question that's often asked, and I was touching upon, in all your years, maintain the sort of neutrality, or kind of with everything sort of being questioned about the media, and especially nowadays further so in the world of fake news? You've actually gone to those places firsthand at a time when often news is just spreading very swiftly across the internet. What would be sort of your view or message, having sort of reviewed the situation now, having reported for so long?
Well, I mean, of course, like you and like all your colleagues at ITN, I believe in the notion of balance and of fairness and of giving people a say in the way that you report, not just simply focusing on one view or another. But the older I get, the more I've done this job, the more I realize that simple balance and objectivity, magnificent though it is, isn't quite enough. You need a bit of passion. You really need to show the lives of people and so often the suffering of people, and then you start to be able to touch the hearts of the people who are watching or listening or reading, whatever it may be. I feel that when I look at my older reports, my kind of, I think a lot of this changed for me in Iraq and in the 90s. And, I mean, yes, the stuff that I reported on was as fairly done and as honest as I could make it. But it didn't seem to kind of glow with life. And I just feel that in the latter part of my career, I've been a little bit more emotional, and I think that is what we need. We're not just brains, we're hearts as well, and I think to be able to touch people's hearts is a really important element.
With that line, my final question to you before I go to the audience. At a time when people are sort of losing faith in mainstream news and people said TV news would be over, I go around the country encouraging people into journalism, especially from communities that don't believe they can, and particularly from those who are less socially mobile, and minority communities, Muslim communities, Asian communities. I heard from a girl in Bradford with a very tiny voice at the time who said the other day to me that she wanted to become a foreign correspondent, but she didn't know how. And I just wondered if for those young people here who would like to consider journalism but think it's something, unfortunately, that they can't aspire to, and I hear that all the time, and I try and say to them it can be, what would you say?
Oh, I'd say go for it every time. It's different now. It's very different from when I started long time ago, more than 50 years ago. You'd expect it to change, but it's changed in a way which has kind of really knocked people like me for a loop, because the big organizations, the ITN, the BBC, the big newspapers, are all suffering a loss of viewers, of readers, of buyers, essentially. It isn't as easy and as grand as it used to be, but people still need to know things, and they will still pay for it, and they'll still look out for it as best they can. So if there is anybody here who thinks that they would like to be say a foreign correspondent, it's a hard job. It's not always the safest of jobs, as we've seen in some really sad cases just recently. But it's a job that's thoroughly worth doing, and I think you and I would share that feeling that it's not just another way of life. It's not just another job like as the kind of things that you and I might have gone into had we not become journalists. It's something that you can put a bit of your own passion and your own feeling into, and you can tell people things that they really ought to know and aren't necessarily being told. One thing is, I have to say nowadays, it's not a great money-making job. Actually, I don't think it ever was, but there was just a few years in the BBC, for instance, and I think the same was true in ITV. The salaries started to get bigger, and you started to think, oh, well, maybe I can make a good living now, but those days are gone. If you want to start in journalism, you have to realize that actually money isn't going to enter into it very much, and you're going to have to start as best you can. But I know a lot of people. I've got lots of friends and indeed one or two bosses who started out just going to somewhere that they thought the world ought to know more about, and that can be anywhere, really. But, I mean, Iraq does come to mind, as does Iran and particularly Syria. And finding your way there, but you have to pay to get there, and then you've got something, hopefully, that big organizations will be interested in, and that way you can make a start in the profession. But it's not easy. But then, you know, I once had a girlfriend who said to me, also a journalist, television journalist, and she said to me, I can't understand why all these people, including you, she said, are always going on about how journalism ought to be more safe and easier. And she said, it isn't a safe profession. It never should be a safe profession, and it'll never be an easy one. And she's dead right.
Thank you very much. I just want to stand while I ask if any of you have questions for John. I will look to one of the organisers to see how much time we have, and then, there is a mic floating for those of you who have questions. If you'd like to keep them brief and give us your name if you'd like to. I see one hand over there.
I used to watch your programs a lot, especially on Iran, and obviously lots of things going on there, and I just wondered if you would give us some insight in your opinion. Is there likely to be a military conflict between America and Iran, and how could the international community avert a war?
I pray that there won't be a war, because I don't think the world would be a very safe place as a result. I don't think that either Iran or even Trump's America wants a war. I think they want to make a noise. I think they want to come out of whatever the confrontation between them is looking good, perhaps as the winner if they can. But I don't think that either of them will cross the line voluntarily. But as we know, these things there can be easy mistakes made. And I mean, if it is true, I have to say nowadays I don't ever believe anything that President Trump actually says. But if he says that he called off a missile strike on Iran 20 minutes or whatever it was before it was due to start, then, well, I'm really glad if that is what happened, that he did stop it. But I'm more worried that it was going to take place it was going to happen in the first place, because, supposing he was asleep, supposing he'd drunk too many Diet Cokes, who knows? Supposing he was too busy tweeting and didn't notice that what had happened. We're not dealing with a normal US president. We're dealing with a very unusual one. And we're dealing with a country which I adore, Iran. I've spent large parts of my career there until 2009, after which I've not been allowed back because of, I think, the dislike that the government has for the BBC Persian service. It's too accurate, and too many people in Iran watch it, and in the neighbouring countries. But it's as some of you will know here, it's a superb, wonderful country. But there are some unpleasant elements there, and those unpleasant elements tend to deal really harshly with people with dual nationality, for instance, and we've seen some examples of this, and it's so easy under that kind of system to make accusations against perfectly innocent people, and then to destroy their lives by prison or worse. So Iran is a difficult country to deal with in every way, but I think we've just got to carry on and make sure that the nuclear agreement that exists with Iran is kept and doesn't fall apart, and to put pressure on the US not to be as aggressive as it has been, and to hope that no more ships get attacked going around the Strait of Hormuz.
Hiya, I'm Fatima. At the LFT. I was just wondering, in terms of the sort of changing face of current affairs and journalism, what you think about the sort of popularity of sort of more comedy type shows in terms of portraying current affairs, like in America Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, or Hassan Minhaj on Netflix was recently banned in Saudi Arabia. I was wondering whether you think that using comedy to tell these stories is reductive, or whether you think it's a way to access a new market of people who otherwise wouldn't be thinking about these issues.
I'm an old twit, you know. I mean, I've been around for too long. Of course, I like jokes, and I love some of those programs, but I think always to look at the humorous side of the way that things are is a kind of weakening of the importance of them. I know that sounds horribly pompous, and I'm sorry about it, but you know, I think there's more to these things usually than just getting a laugh out of them. And I watch John Oliver quite often. Yeah, I mean, he's highly intelligent and his stuff is interesting and so forth, but I just feel I'd rather just leave the jokes out and just hear the line that he would actually is taking underneath it all. So, but you've got to disregard me, because I am an outmoded old bore. I ought to have been in the old folks' home long ago, and so these things, this is part of a different world, and it's a world I'm less comfortable with now than the world I used to be comfortable with. This is it. This is the end. Okay, please don't forget what I said. Please give generously to this absolutely first-class and wonderful cause. Thank you very much indeed.
And as I don't know which one of my mics is working, just a big round of applause to someone who's just shown us why exactly he shouldn't be in a retirement home, and has just given us such amazing insights, as well as telling us why to support this great cause. A big round of applause for our keynote speaker, please. And we've got 3 Chairman's Awards, and the first one, they're here to recognise the excellence of people who strive to further the Trust work to make a real change on the ground. And for the first one, may I invite Mukhtar Bhai back on the stage with John to present it and to announce it.
This award was just to say, not so easily, John. As we started last year in recognizing the qualities that our founder espoused and that helped the Trust during its first 21 years of existence, this year we reached out to the global LFT community yet again and tried to show excellence in what we were putting out there. And it was a tough field to look out for, particularly as the same name came back. One of the award winners last year was selected and given such wide acclaim and accolade that we had to think back and say, ooh, duplicate award, same person again. But what that individual has managed this year is to go beyond the stabilizing of the operation and putting in place processes and systems in place that has made Mothernomics the success that it is. The one time that I had to hold back on Haura Jasim Ali, who manages the LFT's operation in Karbala, is when she named one of the processes the training, recruiting, upskilling, mentoring program. Just work out what those initials stand for. Training, recruiting, upskilling, mentoring program. That was the one time we had to take a step back and say to Hawra, back to the drawing board, please. But other than that, in ensuring that from the recruitment of the mother, encouraging her, make sure she stays at the college, make sure the loan arrives in time, the repayments start on time, that there's enough orders for her to be fulfilling, and making Mothernomics that success that it's going to be in Najaf from next month, God willing, we'd like to recognize that tenacity that our founder, Amir Ali Karim, displayed by awarding this award to Hawra. Hawra is not around this year, but she reached out to a certain Mariam Mukhtar Karim. Someone that we know? Did you get the WhatsApp in time? Did you turn up tonight? Oh, Daddy brought you here. Thank you. Mariam, would you like to collect this award, look after it, and travel out to Karbala and hand it over to Hawra?
Thanks so much. Real pleasure to see you. Hope to see you on the road somewhere. Absolutely. Thanks so much. Real pleasure to see you. Hope to see you on the road somewhere. Absolutely. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much to the LFT family for this amazing award. I'm honestly lost for words. I'm humbled, honored, blessed to be receiving this award. I want to thank everyone who made the Mothernomics project a success, including Team Karbala, support staff, and most importantly, the mothers who decided to take that step into independence and be in control of their lives once again. I want to sincerely thank Mukhtar for his endless support, efforts, and encouragement for Team Karbala and the Mothernomics project. I hope and pray to be at the service of this noble cause and the trust for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you so much again to John, and also the great achievement of Lady Fatima Trust continues, showing that BBC News and ITV News have no rivalry when it comes to nights like tonight. So to the most important part of the night, ladies and gentlemen, which is to talk about how we are going to help raise as many funds as possible for the causes we were talking about. There is a great quote of Muhammad Ali, which I often talk about, and it applies to the mentoring work that I do and encourages others to do, but also charity work, of course. And many of you will be familiar with it, which is the service to others that we do is the rent you pay for your room here on this earth. And to help encourage all of you who are all doing such great work already in your own daily lives by arriving here tonight and pledging your support, we are going to have the company of someone who is a fundraising manager for another great charity founded by a dear friend of mine, Penny Appeal, Khalil bin Khalil. And you're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, because I know Khalil and I know his energy, his enthusiasm, his comedy, and so you are in very safe hands here. So I'm going to encourage you to give him a big round of applause and donate big.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, no, we can do much better than that. Assalamu alaikum. Are you all looking forward to the rest of the evening? No, what's the difference? Are you all looking forward to the food? Some of you are not. It's more food for me. My name is Khalil Ali bin Khalil, and I am here with the honor and pleasure to speak to you today. And I'm from a holy city called Bradford. Some of you think I'm joking. I'm not. I can see a few people are surprised, thinking people in Bradford can scrub up well. This is how we all dress. This is our national dress wear. I grew up in Bradford. I wasn't born in Bradford. I was born in a country called Libya. Where's John? Has John left? Oh, I was going to ask him about Gaddafi, but anyway, we'll forget that. And I came here when I was 3 years old to the holy city of Bradford, and I was born in Libya, came here, and I was very, very confused, because for those that have not been to Bradford, has anybody been to Bradford? Why? Why did you go to Bradford? To check the dress wear. You look very good, mashallah. But for those that haven't been in Bradford, there's a lot of Pakistanis, mashallah. Now you can imagine, 3 years old, I'm trying to learn Arabic, because that's what we speak at home, English at school, and then Urdu everywhere else.
So I grew up pretty confused. And then obviously the language of Bradford as well, which is also a fourth one. What's happening, bro? You alright? But enough about me. Tonight is actually about, not even about our mothers. Tonight is about you guys. And I want you all to give yourselves a massive round of applause for being here today. Absolutely amazing. Give yourselves a massive round of applause. Just by being here today, you have helped many mothers around in Iraq and in Karbala. Now, Mothernomics, when I was reading about it, I was reflecting. And I was kind of reflecting about my own mother. I mean, every single person here loves their mother with their whole heart. Probably my first ever love. The first person I've ever fell in love with, after Allah and His Messenger, would be my mother. And it's only recently that I've realized what she does for me. You know, as you grow older, alhamdulillah, I'm growing older. I know I look very, very youthful. I'm 26, proper old. I feel so anyway. But now, alhamdulillah, I just got married recently as well, and I'm learning all these new things. I was expecting, mashallah, there, but never mind. I got married recently. Oh, massive round of applause. There we are. Had to say that, otherwise my wife would divorce me. But I'm learning, and it's only recently that I've realized how much I love my mother. And I want to share this story with you. So 2017, now I've been working in the charity sector. This year was actually my 10th year in the charity sector, alhamdulillah. I started when I was 16 years old. Something that I love with all my heart as well. And for those that don't know, life as a fundraiser, especially in Ramadan, you know, it's very tiresome. I get home quite late. I set off early in the morning. Sometimes I don't get the time to text my mother and be like, you know, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. Big mistake. Now, one time in Ramadan, I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was out since 8 a.m. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you do. You get home at 4 o'clock in the morning, you didn't tell your mum where you were, you are getting a slipper to the face. I go home at 4 o'clock in the morning, as soon as I walked in, Assalamu alaikum, bang! Before the even wa alaikum assalam arrived. Head chop, bang, straight to the head. She's like, Khalil, 4 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, where were you? She doesn't speak like that, but she turned Russian to me. Yeah, where were you? I go, Mom, I was out at 8 o'clock in the morning, I had a street collection in Manchester. She goes, yeah, I saw it on Facebook. I wasn't going to question why she asking me if she already saw it, but I thought, it's cool. You know what, let her have a moment. She's got another chappal in her hand. She's got another slipper. She goes, then what did you do? I had a charity dinner. I had to go speak at a charity dinner. And then I went to the TV station. I was on British Muslim TV. I had to raise some funds. I got home at 4 o'clock. It is what it is. She goes, yeah, I was watching. So I was like, well, if you're watching, why are you giving me attitude for? Boom, second chappal straight to the head. Assassin mode. And then she goes, whilst I was watching, I noticed on British Muslim TV, on the channel, for those that have watched British Muslim TV, we've always got a sheikh in Mecca. We've always got a sheikh live in Mecca, making dua for everybody, etc., etc. She goes, Khalil, you've been with Penny, but at the time I was with Penny People for 4 years, the charity that I was fundraising for. She goes, you were with that charity for 4 years. Why didn't they ever send you out there? You've been with British Muslim TV for 4 years. Why didn't they never send you out there? Are you a Joey? Oh, Mum's getting deep at 4 o'clock in the morning. She's had a good sihri. I go, look, Mum, they'll send me out one day. They'll send me out one day. Stop giving me attitude. I want to go sleep. She goes, send you out one day. Inshallah fi hajjah. Inshallah fi hajjah. God willing, it's in hajj. By Allah, wallahi, 2 weeks later, I get a call from the editor-in-chief of British Muslim TV saying, Khalil, because of the success of your TV show, Khalil Goes to Work, we want to send you out and film Khalil Goes to Hajj. As in, I got the honor and pleasure to do Hajj at the age of 24, where wallahi I had no intention of ever going. I'll be straight up with you. I was saving up to go to Dubai. I was saving up to go to Thailand. I was saving up to go to America and all these wonderful places. I thought, yeah, I'll do Umrah and Hajj when I'm old. I got the opportunity to do it at such a life-changing spiritual journey. At such a young age, because of a beautiful dua that my mother made. It wasn't even a proper dua, just inshallah fi hajjah. And I asked her afterwards, after when I was reflecting, I asked her, Mum, did you mean it? She goes, no, I just said it. But subhanallah, the mother's du'as are accepted. So today, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, you have the opportunity to reap the rewards and the du'as of the mothers in Karbala. You have the opportunity to reap the du'as of the orphans in Palestine. You have the opportunity to reap the du'as of those that will break their fast in Ramadan in Zanzibar with the water that you will provide. Today you've got the opportunity to relieve the hardship for many around the world. That's what I stand here before you humbly doing today. I'm not fundraising. I'm here just presenting opportunity after opportunity, and I'm hoping that you will make the most of it. So make that intention. And I want you to follow up with action now. I want on your tables, I've got one over here, you've got an envelope. I just want you to hold it. Just human me for a second. I just want you to hold it, just find it, hold it. It was right next to the menu that you were checking out earlier to see what was dinner. Just check it out, go on. Just hold it, just keep it in your hand, don't do anything with it. I just want you to hold it. Every single person that's holding a form right now, I pray that wherever is raised, for your intention you receive the reward whether you're able to donate or not. Whether you're able to donate or not. Now today, our main focus that we're going to start off with is Mothernomics. Before I came here today, I made the intention to be able to support at least 20 of our mothers in Karbala. And I want you to join me in doing that. To do that, to be able to provide enough training, the entrepreneurial skills, etc., all that you saw in the video for 20 of our beautiful, beautiful mothers in Karbala cost £16,000. Cost £16,000. So I want to see and start off today's opportunities to see if there's anybody in the room that is able to contribute towards that whole target of looking after 20 of our beautiful mothers and is able to donate £16,000 towards this amazing Mothernomics campaign, inshallah. If that is you, just put your hand up in the air, and that would inspire everybody else as well, inshallah. Bismillah. Is there the first person of this beautiful gathering at £16,000, inshallah, to be able to not only support 20 mothers, but support their families and future generations as well, inshallah? Is there the first hand up at £16,000 to be able to look after 20 of our beautiful mothers, inshallah? Can I get the first hand up of the evening at £16,000, inshallah? Is there £16,000 anywhere in the evening on any one of these beautiful tables, inshallah? If there's a group of people that want to come together and donate that amount, inshallah. If there's an individual that wants to raise that amount, inshallah. Is it the first person, the first beautiful hero of our mothers in Karbala, inshallah, at £16,000, inshallah? I can see a couple of people discussing it, having a think, inshallah. If you believe that this is something that you can do, make that, you've already made the intention. Let's follow with sincere action and let's put our hand up, inshallah, to support 20 of our mothers, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at £16,000, inshallah? We've got the first hand up over here. Massive round of applause for this beautiful, beautiful young man, mashallah. You've got great hair. You've got great hair, mashallah. Great hair. My hair used to be like that when I was younger. It kind of runs away from your eyebrows when you get to 26 onwards, but it's okay. I want another round of applause for this table over here. Another round of applause. That's 20 of our beautiful mothers and their children and their future generations. Can I get a second hand up at £16,000, inshallah? Can I get a second hand up at £16,000, inshallah? If you put your hand up, please do keep up your hand, especially if you're towards the back. I haven't got my glasses on, I forgot them, so I can't really see properly. Can I get a second hand at £16,000, inshallah? Have I got a second hand up to look after 20 of our beautiful children, our beautiful mothers and their children, inshallah? Can I get the first hand up, second hand up, inshallah? If not, I'm going to move it down. If not, I'm going to move it down. Can I get the second hand up? We've got the second hand up over there, mashallah. Massive round of applause. If you just keep your hand up till one of the volunteers arrives, keep your hand up. If you keep your hand up, one of the volunteers arrives, jazakumullah khair. That's the second. We've got 40 of our mothers, mashallah. We've got 40 of our mothers and their generations and their children supported so they can become entrepreneurs, so they can set up their own businesses. You know, I've been to Iraq myself and I've visited some of our mothers and our sisters in Iraq, and it's truly, truly heartbreaking. And they don't want to keep receiving help. They don't want to keep receiving aid. They don't want to have to beg. They want their dignity restored. A lot of them have been subject to all kinds of violence and gender-based violence, and this is an opportunity to restore their dignity by giving the ownership of their lives back to them. So can I get a third hand up? Can I get a third hand up at £16,000 to support another 20 of our beautiful, I'm not sure if that was me, was that me? There's a jinn in my microphone. Can I get another hand up? At 20,000, sorry, 20,000, I'm just going up. 16,000 pounds, inshallah, to look after 20 of our beautiful mothers, inshallah. If not, I'm going to move it down. Okay, I'm going to move it down to 10,000 pounds, inshallah. We've already got two, mashallah, at 16,000 pounds. Let's see how many hands we can get at 10,000 pounds, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds? This is an amazing, amazing project, inshallah. In Karbala, where many of the people that will be buying from these businesses are actually the 25 million pilgrims that visit Karbala and the shrines. And we're looking to expand actually beyond sewing into electronics. So this, what we're doing here today, will allow this project to truly become something bigger, inshallah. And hopefully we can roll out to the rest of the world. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah? Anywhere in the room at 10,000 pounds, inshallah. If you want to do it monthly, it works out to be around 833 pounds a month, inshallah. If you want to set up as a direct debit, if you just want to, raise an amount and donate it on a monthly basis or whatever you're comfortable with, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah, in this beautiful gathering, inshallah, amongst family and friends? Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah? If not, I'm going to have to go and move it down, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds? Anywhere in the room at 10,000 pounds, inshallah. Have I got the first hand up at 10,000 pounds? Anywhere in the room to be able, now this is the last price point that I will be providing for this amazing project before we move on to other projects, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah? Or somebody that believes that this is something that they can raise. 10,000 pounds, something that I can raise over the month, over the year. If this is something that you feel that you can do, inshallah, put your hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah. And I'm more than happy to personally help you raise that amount as well, inshallah. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds anywhere in the room to be able to purify their souls like Sayyidina Fatima taught us? Giving charity purifies the soul. An opportunity to purify our souls. Can I get the first hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah, before I move on? If not, I'm going to move it down, inshallah. Our next have you got one? Oh, mashallah, I missed you. I'm so sorry. I haven't got my glasses on. Massive round of applause to that sister over there. Thank you for pointing out. Massive round of applause to that sister over there. If you're one of the volunteers, just go to that table over there. I'm not sure what table number it is. Really regret not bringing my glasses now. That's another thing that happens when you get older. You can't see anymore. I know. It's bad times. I'm talking like a proper old codger. I'm just 26. Okay, we've got the first hand up at 10,000 pounds. I can't move on now. We've got to carry on. Can I get a second hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah? Can I get a second hand up at 10,000 pounds? Mashallah, you guys have been absolutely amazing so far. Can I get a second hand up at 10,000 pounds? 10,000 pounds, inshallah. 833 pounds a month, inshallah. Can I get the second hand up anywhere in the room, inshallah? At 10,000 pounds. Bismillah. Can I get the second hand up at 10,000 pounds, inshallah? Khair, inshallah, we're going to move it down, conscious of the time. Now, our next two projects, Mukhtar Bey spoke about them earlier. So, 4,000 pounds. So, for 4,000 pounds, now you've got the choice. And you can choose on the envelope, you can choose which project you want this 4,000 pounds to go towards. If you want it to go towards Mothernomics, then you're more than welcome to. However, at 4,000 pounds, you can provide 100 families with food in Yemen, inshallah. 100 families with food in Yemen, inshallah, via the schools which Mukhtar Bey spoke about earlier. So far, LFT have been able to provide up to 6,000 families with food via 14 schools, mashallah. And as mentioned earlier, keeping the school running. So that way the children can learn and hopefully stand on their own 2 feet in the near future, inshallah. So that's one. And secondly, 4,000 pounds to be able to provide education to 5 orphans in Gaza. 5 orphans in Gaza from primary school all the way to the university level. And I can see a lot of parents here, mashallah. One thing that you want your children to do is learn and become educated, right? Right? So you can imagine how disappointed my father is that I'm not a doctor, right? But it's what we want. We want our children to become doctors. We want our children to become lawyers. We want our children to become the next fathers and mothers want their children to be better than them. give the gift of education to 5 children in Gaza, inshallah. So you've got an option there, 3 options. So can I get the first hand up at £4,000, inshallah, towards any of these amazing projects, towards our children in Gaza, or provide 100 families with food in Yemen, and you all know what's going on in Yemen. Can I get the first hand at £4,000 to do 2 beautiful acts of charity, feeding the needy and looking after the orphans? Can I get the first hand up at £4,000? We've got the 5,000. MashaAllah, we've got 100 here at £5,000 on this table over here. MashaAllah, one of our volunteers can get there, MashaAllah. Well, the first hand up over here. Can I get the second hand up, inshallah? Can I get the second hand up, inshallah? This brother over here, MashaAllah, very kind of him to donate £5,000. If anybody wants to match him at 5,000 or 4,000 to be able to support the projects that are presenting, inshallah. Can I get the second hand up at £4,000, inshallah? Can I get the second hand up at £4,000, inshallah? I recently actually came back from Palestine, and education is one of the biggest things that our children need. I went to Palestine. I can't believe they let me in, by the way. Like, I was born in Libya. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Lebanon. And I've been to Iraq. And they let me in. It was bizarre. I couldn't believe it. But the children there really need and want a good education. So can I get the second hand of this evening towards education in Gaza for 5 of our beautiful orphans, the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or provide food to over 100 families in Yemen for a month, inshallah. Can I get the second hand up at £4,000, inshallah, anywhere in the room? We've got the second hand up over there, mashallah. Massive round of applause for that sister over there. Massive round of applause for that sister over there. And you know what, I want you all to give yourselves a massive round of applause, because you guys are an absolutely amazing audience this evening, mashallah. Give you a massive round of applause. I can see you guys in the corner over there. Just because I haven't got my glasses on doesn't mean you can start acting cool. It's not school assembly. He knows I'm talking about him. Hi. I'll see you on the way out. Take it outside. Can I get the third hand up at £4,000, inshallah? Can I get the third hand up at £4,000, inshallah? We've got the third hand up over there, mashallah, £4,000. That brother over there. Massive round of applause. Can I get the fourth hand up? Can I get the fourth hand up at £4,000, inshallah? I've got the fourth hand up anywhere in the room at £4,000, inshallah. To provide food for 100 families. That's £40 a family. £40 a family for a month. £40 here in London. I mean, what? You can't even feed your whole family at a restaurant for £40. It is madness. In Bradford you can buy a house, but that's a different thing. Can I get the fourth hand up at £4,000, inshallah? Can I get the fourth hand up at £4,000? Food for those in Yemen that feel forgotten. Children in Gaza that feel forgotten. Can I get the fourth hand up? Anywhere in the room at £4,000, inshallah. We've got the fourth hand up from our esteemed guest over here, mashallah. Massive round of applause. Get one of our beautiful volunteers to come on this table over here, inshallah. I think it's table 1. Is it table 1? Ru's like, yeah, man. Table 1 and that. Can I get the fifth hand up at £4,000, inshallah? Can I get the fifth hand up at £4,000? Let's get the fifth hand up and let's move on. Does that sound alright? That sounds like a good deal. Let's get the fifth hand up and then let's move on, inshallah. Can I get the fifth and final hand of £4,000, inshallah, before we move on to the next amazing project and opportunity? Can I get the fifth hand up anywhere in the room, inshallah, at £4,000? £4,000, inshallah. I've got the fifth hand up anywhere in the room, inshallah. Before I move on, have I got the fifth hand up anywhere in the room, inshallah? If not, I'm going to move it down. Any surprises? Okay, I'm going to move it down. Bismillah. Our next project is what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described as the best form of charity. Giving water. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you've got the opportunity to be able to provide water to over 1,500 of our beautiful brothers and sisters in Zanzibar. I've been to Africa and I've seen what water means to our families over there. There was once, I was in West Africa, sorry, I was getting confused. I was in West Africa and we were going to go deep into the village and we stopped off at a petrol station. And we were going to stock up, water because it was very, very hot. It was 40 odd degrees, snacks, etc. And there was these two twins outside begging. They were 6 years old. They weren't begging for money. They weren't begging for food. They were actually begging for empty bottles and cans to be able to sell on via recycling so that they can get enough money for food and water. So ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, just imagine the last time you gave a gift to a child on Eid, on their birthday, whether it be an Xbox, an iPad. I mean, these days 6-year-olds have iPhones. And imagine the face, how happy they were. Just imagine that face. I want you to picture that face for a moment. When Ayalu and her sister approached me and we understood via the translator what they were asking for, we had obviously bottles of water. That's all we'd bought. We'd given her a clean bottle of water. Wallahi, I've never seen a child happier in my life. Wallahi, she was jumping around, ecstatic with joy at the prospect of drinking fresh, clean water. She went to her mother, who was around the corner, she was gloating, saying, "Nana, look what I got." That's how much it means to them. To be able to provide water to 1,500 our beautiful brothers and sisters in Zanzibar costs £2,950. So I want to see who's the first person that wants to give the gift of water to our brothers and sisters in Zanzibar at £2,950, inshaAllah. Who's the first person? Who's our first beautiful guest that will be able to raise or donate or contribute? Literally, it's around £2 a person. And it's actually going to go above the 1,500 people because usually the nearby villages flock towards water. Can I get the first hand up at £2,950, inshaAllah, to be able to provide water? We've just come back on the back of Ramadan, where around this time we start feeling thirsty. And how grateful are we for that first drink of water? Can I get the first hand up to be able to provide a deep well in Zanzibar at £2,950, inshaAllah? Is anybody here that is able to do that, inshaAllah, that wants to do that, inshaAllah, that is able to raise that, inshaAllah, and reap the reward and benefits of all the du'as that those that will be drinking the water? Can I get the first hand up at £2,950, inshaAllah? Can I get the first hand up at £2,950, inshaAllah? Literally towards the end of my bit, and then the food will be served, inshaAllah, where half of you are excited for. The other half you don't have to eat, I'll eat for you. Can I get the first hand up at, the food's already here, mashallah. He's like, I'm fasting today. Can I get the first hand up at £2,950, inshaAllah? If not, I'm going to move on. Okay, I'm going to move on because I can see the food's here and you're going to get a little bit distracted. To be able to support one deaf child with education in Gaza costs £1,000, inshaAllah. Costs £1,000. I'm not sure, is it on there? Yeah, there we are, £1,000 in Gaza. This works out to be £84 a month. So I'm expecting a range of hands, and if you want this £1,000 to go to a different project, you're also more than welcome to. How many hands can we get at £1,000, £84 a month, £2.80 a day? I'm going to do it all in one go. We've got one over there. Keep your hand up till one of the volunteers gets there, inshallah. We're going to do a massive round of applause right at the end, inshallah. We've got the first one over here. We've got the second one at the back, inshallah. Where's the third hand up at £1,000? Second one, I've got you over there, mashallah. Can I get the third hand up at £1,000, £84 a month, inshallah. We've got the third hand up in the back over there. Third hand up at £1,000, £84 a month, £2.80 a day. Can I get the fourth hand up? About £1,000, inshallah. Can I get the fourth hand up? About £1,000, £84 a month, £2.80 a day. £2.80 a day ain't even going to get you parking in London for an hour. I've already counted that one, mashallah. We've got the fourth one over there, mashallah. Can I get the fifth hand up? Can I get the fifth hand up anywhere in the room, mashallah? Right at the back there. Can I get the fifth hand up? Can I get the fifth hand up at £2.80 a day, £84 a month? £84 a month, inshallah, £1,000. Can I get the fifth hand up, inshallah? Can I get the fifth hand up, inshallah, at £1,000? Have I got the fifth hand up anywhere in the room? Bismillah. If you just have moments of your time, inshallah. Can I get the fifth hand up before moving on, inshallah? I've got the fifth hand up at £1,000, £84 a month, £2.80 a day, inshallah, before we move on. Have I got the final hand at £1,000, inshallah? Have I got the final hand anywhere in the room, inshallah? If you want to do it anonymously, you are more than welcome to. You've obviously got the envelopes on your tables, inshallah. I'm going to move on to the final price point, inshallah. Providing the gift of sight. If I told you that 80% of the world's blindness is curable, would you believe me? 80% of the world's blindness is curable via simple operations. And I want to invite you to give the gift of sight to those in Pakistan. £250 can provide the gift of sight to 10 of our brothers and sisters. So let's see how many hands we can get for £250, inshallah. We've got one over there, we've got two over there. Where's the third hand up at £250, inshallah? We've got the third hand up over there, £250, inshallah. We've got the fourth hand up over there, mashallah. Have I got the fifth hand up? Have I got the fifth hand up, inshallah? £250, inshallah. We've got the fifth hand up over here, mashallah. We've got the sixth hand up over there, mashallah, £250. Have I got the seventh hand up anywhere at £250, inshallah? Have I got the seventh hand up anywhere in the room at 250 pounds, inshallah? I feel like one of those auctioneering people. And going once, going twice to the bald man over there. Can I get the seventh hand up at £250, inshallah? Have I got the seventh hand up anywhere in the room? Let's get the seventh hand up and let's end it there, inshallah. £250, inshallah. Around 70 pence a day, inshallah. Can I get the seventh and final hand of £250, inshallah, anywhere in the room? We've got the final hand over there, mashallah. Can you give yourselves a massive round of applause? Absolutely amazing. I'm going to end it there. I want to thank you all for being so patient with me. I want to thank the volunteers for doing such an amazing work and job. If you weren't able to donate or you didn't feel comfortable, put your hand up. You've got forms, you've got envelopes on your table. Please do donate as much as you can, inshallah. No such thing as little charity. Give yourselves another round of applause. My name is Khalil bin Khalil. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can do better than that. A big round of applause for Khalil, please. So the good news is the food is at your tables, and I know you've all been looking forward to that, but I just wanted to let you know what's to come. As well as dinner following starters, we've got an incredible performance by Khayal Art Theatre coming up straight after dinner, which is founded by a dear friend of mine, Luqman Bhai. And if you guys haven't seen this yet or any of their performances, then you're in for a treat. And it's about a great humanitarian in Pakistan and a great charity worker, so I won't trail it too much, but please make sure you look forward to that. Followed by an auction, which has some great items, including Wimbledon tickets, items from shrines in Iraq, and some great artwork. So please make sure that you keep your donations coming. I know some of you will want to keep giving anonymously. You've got leaflets on your table. Please make sure you look at those and make sure you keep donating. Thank you so much and enjoy your meals.
As testament to the Trust's collaborations over the past year, this award goes to a team of individuals who started talking to me about the work that we intended to do in Yemen. And at the time, the objective was to get 1 month's food supply to maybe 200 families. So if we got about 8,000 to 10,000 pounds, it would be a good idea. We could feed 200 families for that month, and that's a little more than would have happened without it. Thanks to your generosity and doubling their collection, they doubled it to 100,000, so 200,000 from the into the LFT's work in Yemen. Today, and it's still open, hint, hint, the collection stands at £175,000. Double that, that's 350,000 pounds of life-saving assistance to Yemen. This work would not have been possible without the unwavering support, the constant dedication of the team at AIM Islam. Could I call up their lead, Thamir, to come and collect the award from Ayatollah Fadl Milani?
I'd firstly like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us the opportunity to serve in such a noble cause, to support the oppressed in Yemen. It was truly an honor for myself and the team at AIM to be partaking in this project. Thank you so much for the award. I want to thank Brother Mukhtar for his endless services. He was really somebody who helped us a lot in the background. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give mercy to his father, the late Emir Ali, for all his hard work in founding this organization. Thank you very much again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So just to introduce something which I've been looking forward to because I've had a taster of this. Basically, the arts and the culture means a lot to me, and not just personally, but also because I believe it's important for minority and Muslim communities. You probably know that out-of-the-box careers mean a lot to me as well because of what I do for a living as a journalist. Khayal is a multi-award-winning theatre and drama education company dedicated to the exploration of Muslim world literature and the experience of Muslims in the modern world for the stage, radio, and screen. I've had the pleasure of having Luqman Ali as a friend of mine for the last several years, and I've seen some of his plays go around schools around the country, helping at times of Islamophobia in this country make people learn about through sharing stories, through their plays, through their performances. I've seen Eleanor, who you're about to see perform, take her performances and help little children, and I've seen their entranced faces as they've taken performances for children as well to help share understanding between different cultures. Tonight's story is the story of Abdul Sattar Eidi, who many of you will know as a legendary charity worker and humanitarian who established the world's largest voluntary ambulance service in Pakistan. He was believed to have been born in 1928 and died only 3 years ago. But in that time, he was famed for so much, including his simple living, a man with very few possessions and a bed the same as those in the hospitals that he served so many during his life. He was the proud owner, ladies and gentlemen, of just 2 Shawakamis. Khayal's performance this evening is just an extract of a larger production currently under development titled Eidi Means Love. It's exploring the life and the mission of Abdul Sattar Eidi, and they will welcome your support, Luqman Bhai has told me, to help make that larger development a reality. If you would like to support their cause, their stall is outside, and Eleanor will be here tonight, and you might be able to find Luqman Bhai as well. Please give a very large round of applause for Khayal Art Theatre, please.
There was once a woman in India who every day gave 2 coins to her son and said, "Take these 2 paisas. One is for you. Give the other to someone help in need." Then the boy would be off out into the streets, racing through the dust-swirled streets and alleyways of Bantwa, dodging carts, weaving through market stalls. One day, he spent both the paisas on himself. When he got back home, his mother asked him how the money had been spent. He couldn't lie. "You have a selfish heart, one with nothing to give." The next day, eager to please her, he ran at lightning speed through the streets. 100 errands of charity his mother sent him on and forgot to send him to school. He was too mischievous for school, always leading his friends into pranks. "Come, see our circus tricks. 2 paisas to watch." The other people of the town of Bantwa loved him. The Auntie G's would scoop him up into their arms until he wriggled free. The uncles would call to him from across the street, "Eidi!" Abdul Sattar Eidi was his name. In Gujarati, Eidi means lazy. Or at least it did. Now this boy has lived his life. Eidi means love. One day, Eidi found a man in a shop doorway. He was wounded and shivering with fever. Eidi could see that the man was not a beggar. He quickly went home, told his mother, and came back with blankets, food, and bandages and nursed him. And the man grew strong again. Every day he visited him in the mosque. Idi would find him sitting with his serene face tilted to the sky. And the man taught Idi the Quran. And he said, serving people is serving God. And he told Idi a story of a battle on the fields of Karbala, where Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, salawat, laying down his life to fight tyranny and oppression, sacrificing even his own family to his service to justice and the truth. Idi went back to the mosque, but his teacher was gone. He searched in the town, but no one knew where he was. As the sun set, Idi knew that he would never see that strange and beautiful man again. Then suddenly, Idi was a Sunni Muslim. But every year, he would sit in the mosque and listen to the story of Karbala and weep. He began to read books about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, salawat. And his companions, world leaders, about rebels, revolutionaries. And the boy thought to himself, what will I do? Who will I become? And then the world changed around him. Partition, division, nations on the move. Idi and his family and the Memon community he grew up in were leaving, heading to a new land. Tin trunks, bundles, and suitcases packed onto crowded trains, and then sailing across the Arabian Sea into the port of Karachi. Stench of fish, dilapidated buildings, wailing babies and anxious parents. Every day, from across the continent, on boats and trains, new migrants. Every week, 1,000, 1,000,000, and more. Idi was growing up fast. So were the streets around him. He became a hawker on the streets, selling matchboxes, milk, and pan. Now he was becoming a man, earning a wage, learning a trade. But it wasn't enough. Who would he become? Then one day, businessmen and elders from the Memon community gathered together. They made a plan to open a medical dispensary for the poor. Excited and inspired, Idi went along with his father. Haji Shakur, what will you be contributing to our charity? His father pointed to his son and said, I have donated more than money is worth. I have donated a whole human being. Watch him. And so they watched him. Yes, he works very hard, very efficient, but he complains that the dispensary is shut at night, that Idi does not play by the rules. He insists on handing out medicine to anyone in need without first checking if they are from the Memon community. Idi's authority to hand out medicine was taken away. Edie bought his own shop. A dilapidated room, 8 foot square. But from there, he dispensed medicine and stayed open all night long, sleeping on a hard bench outside the shop. And every day, he went to beg on the streets. The Memon businessman protested. "This vile man wants to take your money from the pockets of the needy. He will spend your money on himself and feast on the stolen charity." Edie replied, "The people will create their own welfare. I will help them create it. My motivation of love is stronger than your hate." He worked relentlessly. The seed his mother had planted in him were like shoots going out in all directions. One day, while he was busy at work, he heard his mother had collapsed. He raced home and he went looking for an ambulance. There was one. I mean there was one in the whole of Karachi. You had to book it if you were going to need it. He hailed for a rickshaw. He held his mother tight, clattering to the hospital. In her final years, he nursed her. Her suffering was his teacher. And when she died, a passion inflamed in Edie's heart. A passion to serve humanity. Now, on the streets where Edie lived, there was a mound of garbage, a great festering pile, and no one thought to clear it. One morning, Edie picked up a spade, walked over to that mound, and plunged into the squelchy mess. He began to shovel that mess onto a plastic sheet he had spread onto the ground. And soon, he had 2 mounds. Then he hauled that stench-ridden pile onto his bent back and carried it to the main dump. All day he worked like this, and not a single person raised a hand to help. So, he heaped, and he hauled, and he hauled, and he dug deep, and he found human remains. He said, "I will keep on going. I will keep on going till these people understand the dignity in labor." He hauled those bodies out of the gutters and drains. He washed them, and he searched for their name, and he buried them with dignity. Thousands. But hauling the dead like this, Edie was ever practical. So he bought an old van. He was whizzing through the streets, going to emergencies, answering every call. Some of the passengers complained, "Why do you take Christians and Hindus in your ambulance?" Edie would say, "Because my ambulance is more Muslim than you are." When he wasn't driving the ambulance, he was working in the dispensary. When he wasn't working there, he was out on the streets begging for funds. "Thank you. Please, take a receipt if you ever need to use the service. You've paid for it." And then more ambulances and more volunteers to drive them. Edie's dream began to grow. But so did the poverty and slums and abandoned babies. So Edie put out cradles in front of his centers. The mullahs were up in arms. That Idi is a kafir. Any baby born out of wedlock must be stoned to death. What religion teaches that? Idi raged. Love fueled his rage. He just kept on working tirelessly while mullahs and jealous rivals attacked him. He kept on hauling that nation out of the gutter. A system for the people, by the people. We will do this wholesale from the bottom up. So, he heaped that pile of rubbish onto his back. He strained under the weight of rotting corpses. He slept for only 4 hours. He ate stale bread. He owned 2 pairs of clothes, and he wondered why he couldn't find a wife. But love inspires love. And from a selfish city, the compassionate came forward. And Idi led them like a tireless taskmaster. That work is sloppy. Do it again. Be punctual or don't come back at all. Don't make that face. Get used to the smell. This is a human being. If I can pick out maggots, why can't you? Everyone is afraid to even smile in his presence. Everyone, that is, except Bilqis. He first saw her in the moonlight, her beautiful face framed by the stars. She was a mischievous chatterbox, working twice as fast as anybody else. She was zipping around in her white nurse's uniform. He couldn't help but notice. One day he caught her alone to propose. Bilqis, will you work with me for the rest of your life? Well, that hadn't come out right. He tried again. She said yes. But he was so busy he didn't have time to turn up for his own wedding. She was his soulmate, heaven sent. Her laughter brought back his joy. But there was never a day off. Their work was their marriage. Sometimes Bilqis would plead with him, let us go to the beach. Oh, please, it would be so nice. I could look for shells. You could find a body. With Bilqis at his side, Idi's dream of a welfare state continued to grow. Shootouts were common in Karachi. Police shooting at gangsters, gangsters shooting at gangsters. But there's one thing that they all agreed upon. They all stopped when Idi arrived. They waited until he picked up the dead. Then they started again as soon as he left. One day by accident, Idi was injured. He stumbled. Both gangsters from both sides ran to his help. Then, as the battles raged, on the streets, in the government buildings, in the hearts of men, Idi kept on working, saving lives. The compassionate worked with him by his side. People from the streets ran to him, eyes wet with tears of love. But there were others who were jealous. Social workers, sitting in swanky offices, wanting plaudits for their work. Mullahs, greedy for the zakat his foundation received. But if they wanted an ambulance, they said, quick, dial 115. The Idi Foundation, like the light of the morning sun, stretching its light across the globe, Asia, Africa, Europe, and the USA. Over 3 million abandoned children found. Over 80,000 drug addicts rehabilitated. Over 1 million abandoned babies saved and counting. Light sending out its rays. Then a threatening phone call. Power-hungry people, afraid of the realization of Edie's wholesale dream, and the insults kept coming. Madman, communist, kafir, fraud, organ seller. Bilkis laughed. They forgot the best one. World's greatest miser. Edie was trying on a pair of spectacles that he had found on a corpse. These will do. He never spent a penny on himself. Bilkis would have to hide herself to even stitch him a new pair of clothes. And as the insults kept coming, Edie kept on working. Whenever he was attacked or denied, he ducked and dived and found new ways to fight back with endless love, serving humanity. Edie needed a holiday. He took one in his lifetime. And Bilkis and he drove there by ambulance. Hajj pilgrimage. In Makkah, he prayed, "Oh Allah, raise my spirit in humility. My work is beyond my capability. Let me remember that I am but a tool, and the force of anything extraordinary comes from you." When the rituals of Hajj were finished, Bilkis and he handed out medicines from the back of the ambulance. On his return journey, he stopped at Karbala. He looked out across the land where many years ago a battle was fought, where the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali, had lain down his life to fight tyranny and oppression, sacrificing even his own family to his service of justice and the truth. As tears of rivers ran down Evie's face, he remembered the words of his teacher, the man he found bleeding on the streets of Bantwa. The story of Karbala is not just an event. It is an example of how we should live, what we should do when we see injustice done on human beings. It is God's demand for humanitarianism above all else, especially one's own self.
And for Eleanor, who is stood at the back, always doing so much hard work, thank you so much. And what a perfect tie-in with this evening to pay tribute to the life of this man. And as I mentioned, it's still in development, so for those who would like to help this production, do contact Khayalat Theatre if you'd like to get involved and support that. For the next part of this evening, and you've been such a brilliant audience, and I know I'm preaching to the converted, but we're coming up to the auction, and we need that generosity to continue. And for anyone who knows me, and I've got some friendly faces in front of me here tonight, they know that I always make sure that push for that little bit extra. One particular reason
is that I was asked a few weeks after I was asked to host here to attend my friend's wedding. So it's taking place across town right now. So I just want to make sure that I tell him that I gave up his wedding for a really good cause, and we beat whatever records that you guys have raised here before by raising even more tonight. And just one story before I introduce our brilliant auctioneer, Riaz, is the power of one and all of you. We did a story on a little boy in Syria who was bombed aged 2 a couple of years ago, and we showed his horrific burns after he lost his mother and brother. And one viewer watching, we didn't know this would happen, decided to donate a large amount of money, and as a result, that little boy ended up in Turkey getting treated, and we went and revisited that little boy, and he was barely recognizable because, mashallah, he was healed, he was doing better, and he was now 3 years old, and he has been doing well as far as we know after. And that is the power of one, and each of you, I know, has the ability to make such a big difference here tonight. And it was just extraordinary to see one man, one viewer sitting in London make a difference to someone out there who didn't imagine they would ever leave Syria. So with that, I'd like to introduce Riaz Dalla, who is a long-term supporter of Lady Fatima Trust, and a lawyer here who would like to make sure that you guys donate as much as possible to the brilliant auction prizes. A big round of applause, please.
I know we're sort of coming to the end of the day, and I'm standing here between you and dessert and, heading home safely. We've got some amazing prizes this year, or auction items. A couple of these pieces are so unique. I've never seen anything of this sort previously, either the LFT or elsewhere. So we've got 4 items. We're going to try and keep it short, but I think the items are brilliant. So please do have a look at the items. Dig deep, the final push. If you do like the look of these things, we'll auction them off. Whatever they go for, whoever wins them, they can choose which project they want the money to go to. So I'll bring the first item, please. This item, which is coming up on stage now, is a rug which has come from the shrine of Hazrat Abbas from Karbala. So it's a very, very unique and rare opportunity for us to have one of these rugs in our homes. So the rug, as it comes out, it's a silk blend rug, and it has been in the shrine for many, many years. In terms of the dimensions of the rug, it's 3 meters long and about 1.9 meters wide. The reality about this rug is not necessarily, the design. It's what makes it so special is the provenance and where it comes from. So we've got, like with all of these items, there's a high reserve on this one. But can I start with £5,000, please? It's a very, very unique piece, and I think it deserves at least, a few £1,000s. So can I start with £5,000, please? I think this is such a unique piece, and anything that you donate for this, whoever wins this, all the donations will be going to a cause of your choice, and you get this beautiful rug, which has been prayed on by so many people in the shrine, so much barakah which is attached with this particular piece. And something that no one else will have in their homes is a rug from the shrine. So can we start with 5,000? Has anyone got 4? £4,000 for this rug. It's a beautiful piece. Okay, I've got £4,000. Has anyone got 5,000 in the room? This is what we started at. This is way below our reserve, so I'm hoping we can push this up, and I think it's a very, very unique piece. So we've got 5,000. We've got 5,000, mashallah, for this rug. I think I know there's a lot more money for this item. It will go to fantastic causes. Whether people are sending the money that is spent on this back to Iraq, back to Karbala, where the money came, where the rug has come from. We've seen today the fantastic work the trust is doing in Karbala. So if anyone's got £6,000, I think we can make a final push on this. I think we can get up to 8. We have 8,000. 8,000. We've got 8,000 in the room. Has anyone got anything more on 8,000? We've got 8,000 going once, 8,000 going twice, and sold for £8,000. Thank you so much. The next item that we're getting is a beautiful piece of art. Whilst we normally have paintings, and we do have a beautiful painting coming up in due course. This is a fantastic carving that has been done, hand-carved on walnut wood. It represents the patron of our trust, Baby Fatima Sallam, and it represents 12 doves, 12 birds coming from her name, representing the 12 imams who sort of are associated with her and her lineage. So, you know, the Sayyid is here, and we will have all have heard that, you know, when we refer to Bibi Fatima, we refer to her through her. Everything is linked through her father, her husband, her children. So this piece beautifully represents, you know, the Lady of Light, the patron of our charity, and also her illustrious lineage. So can I start with £1,500 for this piece, please? Are there any bids on £2,000? It's a very unique piece. It's quite a neutral piece. It could go in most homes. I think we could all find a space for this. A very, very special piece, all fully hand-carved in walnut. 2.5? 2.5. Anyone up on 2.5? You can bid against yourself as well, that's fine. Anyone for 3,000? Okay, so we've got 2.5 going once. 3,000? Got 3,000. 3,000 against you. Got 3.5. You can converse, you can buy it as a table, it's fine. 3,000 going once. Going twice. And sold for £3,000. The next item is for an icon and an institution in the British sporting calendar. It is for the upcoming Wimbledon tournament. We've got tickets, a pair of tickets in the debenture seats, the beautiful seats in centre court for the ladies' final, which is going to take place on Saturday, the 13th of July. You know, I'm sure these will come with strawberries and cream. It's going to be a fantastic day. You don't need to worry about the weather. Centre court now has a roof, so it's a guaranteed great day of fun and sport. So anyone in your life, big sports fan, Wimbledon is an iconic event. So these should fly because I can sell these online for a lot more, for a lot of money. So I'm hoping for a few £1,000s for these at least. But we'll start it at £1,000, so that's £500 a ticket. Do I have 1,000 in the room? You know, when the tournament starts, these will be going for £2,000, £3,000 a ticket. So this is an opportunity to go to Wimbledon final. All the money going to the Lady Fatima Trust. We thank the generous donor who's given up their debenture for this year to give us these iconic tickets. Do we have 3,000? Got 3,500. Got 4,000. We've gone past the reserve. So these will be selling £4,000. 4,000 against you? 4.5? 4.5. Got 5. Got 8,000. Got 8.5. 8.5. 8.5 going once. Going twice. Sold for £8,500. And the final piece we have is, it's a beautiful piece which has just been donated by Sister Siddiqa Juma. She's a long-standing fan and supporter of the Lady Fatima Trust. This piece comes hot off her award as the Artist of the Year from the Muslim News Awards. Siddiqa's been doing some amazing work this year around the world, presenting art and her skills and demonstrating the power of art through community, and also showing that, you know, art and the crafts are a viable option for people. You know, I know we were talking about doctors and lawyers, but Siddiqa's showing us how art can also be a fantastic source of creativity, but also, you know, a brilliant way to sort of, you know, run your career. So we've got this beautiful piece, you know, sort of peacock inspired, with the word Allah in the middle, highlighted in gold in a very abstract form. Again, the colours are very rich and could go into a lot of homes. So can we start with £750 for this, please? We've got £500. Has anyone got £750? For 750. There's 750 at the back of the room. Nice. Selling once at 500. Has anyone got anything higher than 500? It's a beautiful piece. Large one would take up a whole room, be the focal point of a room. Anyone at 600? Going twice at 500. Final chance. Sold for, oh, fantastic, £600. Anyone got £700? Going once, going twice, sold £900. Thank you all so much. Thank you for having been here today. And that wraps up the auction part.
Thank you so much, Riaz. Can we have a big round of applause for Riaz and for everyone who just donated generously for an auction prize? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all desperate for dessert, but if you just hold fire, dessert will be coming around shortly. And I'm about to introduce just a couple of important things. Mukhtar Bhai is about to come back on for the final Chairman's Award, and we're going to be announcing those all-important raffle prizes. Mukhtar Bhai, would you like to come on and present the last award? Big round of applause.
Could I, before I present this last award, just acknowledge your generosity and appreciate your coming and staying for this. Could you just appreciate that selecting the last course that you're going to consume today required me and my colleague Ali Shikara to sit through 26 food tasting courses. Don't you feel sorry for us? So if you walk out on us at this stage without enjoying the pistachio mousse, Ali and I will sit in the corner and weep for having suffered 26 courses to choose the 27th one as your dessert tonight, LFT. So please do stay for that. Dedication to the cause, that's what it's called. But dedication to the cause is something that this individual who is nominated for the award tonight has shown in India. The award winner is someone that has been a partner of the LFT's journey to look out for education opportunities at their best. And one thing that I like about this award winner is before he nominates a cause for us to support, he'll say, allow me to find local support. Allow me to be able to look for donors in the country to be able to support this. And only when I have maximized the local take-up and I need assistance, I'll come to you. But even after that, the diligence in making sure that the reporting, both the financial need as well as educational excellence, is maintained, mentored, and excelled. It gives me, the award winner unfortunately was not able to make it. So if I can call upon Mikhail Jaffer to come up and receive this award on behalf of, say, Jaffer Naqvi of Delhi. Mikhail, in receiving this award, you'll have to look after it for, say, Jaffer, and we might need you to fly out to give it to him. But Sir Vartan Melkonian, a long-standing supporter and friend of the Trust, will present this award to, say, Jaffer Naqvi, received on behalf of Mikhail Jaffer. Mikhail, please.
Thank you very much, Lady Fatima Trust and the trustees and all of you to recognize the little effort which I have put in for changing the lives of the people here in India. My journey with Lady Fatima of the last 14-15 years started with Mr. Amir Ali Kareem and then subsequently to Mr. Mukhtar Kareem has been extremely informative. The generosity which they have shown for Indian people is enormous and immense. The need here in India is much, much more than what we are doing today. And we hope and we pray that with the support of all of you, we will continue and we will touch as many lives as possible in the future. Thank you very much.
Big round of applause for our final winner of the Chairman's Awards. As you can see, dessert is winging its way to you. And whilst we've just got the raffle prize winners to announce, which I know you guys have been desperate to hear who's won, I just wanted to make sure that for those of you who haven't yet donated and would like to tonight, you can do so after tonight with the means on your tables before you leave. You've been hearing about the great work of the charity all night, and it's been great to see all the people that it's helped and impacted. One of the things I mentioned was that obviously I sponsored an orphan with this charity many, many years ago, and it was actually through a visit to Iraq that I was inspired because of seeing the situation of the orphans there. And in one particular city or town, as we were leaving, we went to a remote area and we were told not to donate necessarily there, but many of us did. And as we were leaving our coach, many young children chased us for many miles, and that image sort of stayed with me. And it's often those kind of stories that you bring back to your homes and you remember as you sort of think about what a small difference that we can make tonight through the privileged positions, mashallah, that we are in. So thank you so much for being a great audience so far. And I will let you eat your dessert. I'm waiting for one of the LFT team to tell me where I can announce the raffle from. Maybe they were going to let you eat your dessert in peace. I'm getting told that the raffle will be shortly. There is a raffle, and you will hear from one of the amazing trustees as a closing for tonight. So I know there's someone very keen to hear the results on table 1. How many tickets did you buy? Anyway, I'm going to leave you with the dessert, knowing now that I thought that I had the best gig of the night, the host, and now I get told that dessert tasting was the best gig, and I missed out on that. So anyone who knows me will know that that's what I would love to have done instead. But anyway, I'm just joking. Enjoy, and I'll be back.
I lost count. Last time I counted, I think there were 7 prizes to be won. So I don't know if we have the list of items in the presentation, but...
The first prize is a bag from the Cambridge Satchel Company, which is a very cool prize. Now I wish I'd bought a raffle ticket, but I thought you'd all think it was fixed if I won.
Yeah, well, see, I wouldn't have known. So, the winning ticket number for this bag is 160. Who has ticket number 160? Way, congratulations! Next item on the list is a tablet. Which one? The winner of this tablet is number 445. Who has ticket 445? Ted Baker. Of course, yeah, Ted Baker, perfume and toiletries. And the lucky winner is number 274. Who owns 274? Wait, one of the volunteers, coincidentally. Congratulations.
A Kate Spade wallet, amazing prize. This is who's won it.
Okay, sorry. I wouldn't know neither. Number 108. Who has ticket number 108? Let's see a hand. There's a hand there. Congratulations. Thank you. So we have 2 Sunnah Mosques fragrances. The first winner of one of the Sunnah Mosque fragrances is 273. Ticket number 273. Anyone here with 273? 273. Thank you. And the second lucky winner is number 151. Who has ticket 151? Is that 151 there? That's 151. Congratulations. Okay. Sure.
The next prize is again one I wished I'd bought a ticket for. It's a massive cake from Cafe Concerto, winging its way to someone over there. Oh, yeah, sorry. Actually, the person who's heading over with the cake, this is the prize for the person who's just won. Yours hasn't been announced. Would you like to head over? A very, very eager volunteer who's just thinking, when do I get to eat my dessert? The winner of the cake is 362. 362.
Teeth fans out there, we have a very plush £300 Oral-B toothbrush up for grabs. So, the very lucky owner of this rather elaborate toothbrush is number 88. 88. Who has ticket number 88? Have they gone home? Number 88, right there. Thank you. Congratulations. Man. Sorry, hands up, please. There we are. Can you see me? And that concludes the raffle prize draw. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy your dessert.
For the last speaker of the night, apologies. It's amazing to see in a in 2019, something we should be having a lot more of. A brilliant trustee of a brilliant charity like this, Dr. Tuha Jaber of LFT, who I had the pleasure of meeting just now. Please, could I ask you to come on stage and give us the closing speech? Thank you so much. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I know you've all had your dessert and you've got it in you now.
Thank you very much, Ruhi. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I would just like to take a few moments of your time. So if I could just have a few moments of calm. I know you're all enjoying your dessert far too much. But really, this is just a small token to everybody who has contributed tonight. And I'd like to begin by saying that giving is not about making a donation. Often that's the easy part. Giving is actually about making a difference, and it's about making a difference to the people and to the lives of people that need it the most. And hand on heart today, I can thank each and every single one of you, because you together have helped to raise £200,000 in the bank that's going to change the lives of millions of people. So I could not stand here today and begin without remembering dearly and fondly our late Uncle Kareem, whose passion and drive and energy and enthusiasm has meant that despite his passing from this temporary world, the Lady Fatima Trust is still here, and it continues to grow and thrive and change the lives of millions and millions of people. Tonight, I have to say a special thanks to our wonderful team. And I'd like to begin first by thanking our amazing keynote speaker, Mr. John Simpson, who sadly wasn't able to stay with us for the rest of the evening. But I'm sure you were all touched, moved, and inspired by his talk and his work and his own personal legacy. I would like to thank our funny, enthusiastic, and extremely old pledger, 26 years of age, probably younger than half the audience here, who helped us raise significant amounts of funds tonight. So thank you, Khalil. I'd like to thank one of the long-standing patrons, volunteers of the Trust, Brother Riaz, who did the auctions. And of course, the amazing MC, Ruhi Hassan, thank you so much. You did it effortlessly and with so much grace and charm, so thank you. Of course, I'd like to thank Brother Mukhtar, who over the last 18 months since the passing of Uncle Kareem has worked tirelessly to tie all the loose ends and grow and plant the new seeds for the Trust. It brought light, actually, to how much work Uncle used to do single-handedly, and it's taken a whole team of us to try and just do a small amount of justice to his legacy. So thank you, Brother Mukhtar. And finally, and most importantly, two people. The first, I'd like to thank all the volunteers. They have all worn green today, so they can be noticeable. Huge round of applause. They were led by Sister Fatima Al-Ansari, who has done a fantastic job, not only bringing all the volunteers together, but training them, inspiring them, and enabling them to assist you tonight and ensure that you have a pleasant evening, and that we also raise a significant amount of money. And he's just about to leave the room, Ali Shkara. He asked me not to mention his name, but I could not go without mentioning the person who is responsible for tonight. And of all the years, this year has been one of the most difficult years for Ali, because he has done a lot of the work all by himself. So Ali Shkara, thank you very, very much for another fantastic gala dinner. You have done amazingly well, and Jazakallah khair. So remember, brothers and sisters, it's only in giving that we truly grow as individuals. And I'd like to remind you all that whatever you have given tonight, don't be hasty in thinking that that is it. The journey continues. There are always people in need. And believe me, and I speak from experience, that giving a small amount, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will multiply it. you make that pledge to try and make a difference to the life of people. And with that pledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you so much power and ability. And year on year, you'll find yourself doing more and more. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much to Tuha and also for your thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, as you were just saying so well, everyone has been so generous tonight. But after tonight, you can go and talk about the work of this great charity to your friends, to your family who don't know about it. Bring along someone next year. Enjoy tonight, what's left of it. Meet your friends, family here, make new friends. There's several ways to continue to donate. Please do take the information about the charity from your tables with you. It's been an absolute pleasure being here today. Thank you so much for having me, and have a good night. Thank you very much again. Thank you to all of you.